Hello and welcome back to another Fish Fridays with me, Ben, the Amputee Angler, where every Friday at 6 PM I'll sit and discuss with you one of the many fish species we've got here in the UK, and I'll talk rigs, tactics, descriptions, records, and I'll even throw in some top tips as well. And this week we're going to talk about the squid. Let's go. So before we get into it, for the purists amongst you, yes, I'm aware that a squid is not technically a fish, it's a cephalopod. So before anyone gets their knickers in a twist and wants to point that out to me, I'm already aware. However, Cephalopod Fridays isn't as catchy as Fish Fridays, so therefore it's part of the Fish Friday series. Okay, so the squid. We actually get two types of squid here in the UK, Loligo vulgaris and Loligo forbesi, and I have practiced that a number of times, I can assure you, because that is a mouthful. And the forbesi is actually the bigger of the two species, and the forbesi has been known to get up to 1 metre long here in the UK and well over 6 pound. I certainly know of a few 6 pound specimens that have been caught. All around the UK, and pretty much actually they're found in most parts of the world, and the Chinese fish for them on an industrial scale with jigs. They have huge boats, a bit like we have trawlers. They have massive squid boats with massive automated jigging machines, and they catch them by the ton. They are a really well populated species throughout the world, and they're preyed upon by tuna, seals. Most fish species, if not all, love squid, so not only they're popular with anglers, they're also popular with fish as well. So a squid then, they have 8 little short arms and 2 bigger ones that they shoot out and grab their prey with. The end of the long ones is actually filled with suckers, and the suckers, if you look at them under a microscope, not that we will as a fisherman, but take my word for it, if you look at them under a microscope, they're actually filled with tiny little hooks, loads of them. Think Spider-Man when they have that scene where they zoom in and he's climbing up the walls and you can see all the little hairs. That's what a squid sucker looks like. That shoots out, it grabs its prey, and then it draws them back in again, and it draws it back in. And squid, they have like a little parrot-like beak. That's what they chomp down on their prey with. And once those suckers get hold of their prey, it ain't getting off, that's it. So that's small pout, crustaceans, crabs, shrimps, that's what they use. And they go bang, hit them, and they hit it hard. And actually a lot of the time when you're bringing the fish up, the squid up, sorry, you'll see that the way it's been caught is by the 2 bits that shoot out, and they've caught the end of the jig, and that's actually what it's been hooked onto. So yeah, when you get one, do stretch it out and have a look, because it's surprising just how far out those things can shoot. Habitats for squid then. Personally, I've done very well on little rocky outcrops that are surrounded by sand, and the reason being is that the squid, like any other fish with little reefy patches, it's a haven for crabs, crustaceans, shrimp, little tiny bait fish, and the squid know that, just like a bass does or another predatory fish. The squid gravitate towards that, and that's where I've had some really good success. And we've had 40 plus squid for a short session before, and it's just been squid a drop. So those little patches of reef and rocky outcrops, however, they are also found certainly in the back end of autumn, out on the deep sandbanks where we go turbiting and bassing. The big squid get over there as well. So you will find them in open water, and they do tend to vary where they live. But for me personally, inshore, especially in the autumn, little rocky outcrops and reefs, drift your jigs over the top of that, get to the back end, start it again, you'll pick up squid all day long. So rigs and tactics for squid then. No need to fish heavy with these, especially inshore. A light spinning setup, a nice spinning reel, braid or mono, entirely up to you. If you want to use a fluorocarbon trace at the end or a leader, you can do that, but they're really, really not fussy, trust me. Tactics wise then, a method that I use with great success, and one that I learnt with Robin Howard on Biff 1, a Brighton lure boat down here out of Brighton Marina. Really successful, really simple, and it picks you up bonus fish as well, like your cod, bass, mackerel as well, is this. A nice heavy lure at the bottom, or slow jig, depending on the size of the tide, depending on the weight of the lure. Then above that, on a bit of mono, you have 2 dropper loops, which you snip off and attach 2 jigs to, and then a clip swivel. And all you do is lower that down to the bottom, slow lift up, slow lift down. You can even let the boat do the work in the tide. Catches just as many squid sometimes, let it do that. And that is it, simple. The idea behind a lure and not a weight on the bottom is that the lure over these reefs will pick you up bass, cod and mackerel if they're there. In fact, anything that takes a lure will grab it at times. You do get the occasional cuttle or ballon wrasse will nip your lures, but it works an absolute treat. And we've had days where we've had 40 squid using this method, 2 squid a drop, absolutely brilliant, absolutely deadly. And that's it, that's all you need to do with that. Another way you can fish is to have a running ledger. So your weight and a single jig, you can cast it out and then you can hop it back to you. Not one that I've tried personally, but I know that's the way they fish on the boats. Me, I like the lure and the jig method. It works, so I don't touch it. From the shore, they do a thing called egging. They will fish a single lure. Occasionally, they will put a split shot or a cone weight on it. And from the shore, they cast it out and they will let it sink and then just retrieve it back to you. A squid jig, you don't have any hooks, you have a barb on the bottom, and that's what the squid get caught on, is these barbs just dig into the tentacles. Some days they'll take a certain colour over another, but they're not particularly fussy. And likewise, on the jigs themselves, much like bass lures, you can spend a fortune or you can spend a lot less. Me, I've tried expensive jigs and they can go up to £20, £25 for one jig. And I've also tried cheap jigs. My personal thing is I've got a set from Amazon that I buy. It comes in a little rig wallet, multiple colours. They've got a little rattle to them as well, and I put a little clip in now. And that's it, and I think it's 8 jigs in that wallet, and that does me, and they work an absolute treat. I don't think you need to go and spend 20, 25 quid in a single jig. The squid purists out there who are dedicated squid fishermen, or perhaps you make your own fishing jigs, they will argue with me and say, no, expensive jigs, better jigs, quality jigs catch you more. That's fine, that's your personal opinion. Done a lot of squid fishing this year, didn't notice one bit of difference between the cheap jigs and the expensive jigs. If they're there and they want it, they will take it. Much like pollock, bass and cod. Yes, a lure has its day, and yes, they want a certain colour or a certain method, but in terms of the jig, if they're feeding, they will take it. I'll put a link in the description of this video to the jigs that I buy from Amazon in case you want to buy them. Squid season here. It's now March, coming up mid-March. There's squid here in the UK on the south coast. The spring run is going to be starting in a few weeks. So if you want to get some jigs prepped, just hit that link from Amazon and they'll be at your door tomorrow. So there you go. That's what I use and that's what I prefer. And like I said, I'll put a clip in now of my method so you can see it real time. There we go. This is all the rig is. So I've got 120 gram lead head on the bottom. You can use a lighter or bigger one depending on the tides. And then 2 dropper loops, and then we just got some cheap Amazon jigs, and that's all we've got. And then that goes to a clip swivel that you clip on your line. Nice and easy, you haven't got to do anything special with these. Squid, they're not particularly fussy. If they see it, they'll take it. Just really nice and slow when you get one, and that is all you really got to do when they do take it. Coming on the top tips then for squid. First one I'm going to give you is nothing to do with catching the squid itself, it's to do with the ink. Now, cuttlefish and squid, obviously they both ink, and cuttlefish is going to be another separate video, but they both ink. The difference between the two, and something that is lost on people, is a cuttlefish, when it comes up, it uses water to make its ink. So once a cuttlefish is out, you can leave it out of the water for a couple of minutes, or a second, sorry, and it will dispel all its ink as it comes out of the water, and then that's it. As long as you don't put that cuttle near any more water, its ink is done. It cannot mix it up anymore. A cuttle has to mix ink to be able to shoot it with water. Now a squid is different. A squid's ink sac is already pre-mixed. So it doesn't matter whether you leave it out the water or in the water, it's got the capacity to shoot ink. So when you get them out and put them straight in a bucket. Dispatch them first. Best way to dispatch a squid, stick a knife in just behind the eyes and you'll see it will go white. The colour goes from the squid straight away. Straight away, I'm talking squid here, straight away. Another thing you can do is lay the squid out, give it a karate chop just behind the head where the body and the head meets, and that'll kill it stone dead. And again, it'll go from a reddy colour to a pure white, and that's it, dead. I'm not going to show you a video of it because people don't like it. So that's it. If you want to see that, other YouTubers will probably have a video of that somewhere. But get your squid out, get them in a bucket, otherwise your deck is going to be black. Second top tip for squid then, one that I noticed last year on the boat, and I outfished a couple of the guys that are with me by a fair amount actually, and that is, we were drifting down the tide and I was flicking the lures up tide, and as it was dropping back down to me, it was covering more water. So, layman's terms, dropping it straight up and down the boat, you're covering that water column between you and directly down to the boat. Obviously, tide's going to catch it slightly and it's going to deviate, but that's it. But what I was doing is I was casting it up tide, and then the jigs were coming back to the boat in more of an arc fashion, and I was picking up squid through different areas of the water column, and I was actually covering a lot more ground than if I'd done it just straight up and down. And I was giving it a couple of minutes once it had got to the boat. If nothing had taken it, bombing it in, and I was resetting it, and I was picking up a hell of a lot more squid. And more often than not, it was actually, as soon as it had hit the bottom and come to the boat, the squid had been following it down and hitting it as soon as it had come to a stop. So don't be scared to give these jigs a cast out and let them trot back to the boat. You don't always have to go up and down. Third and final tip then for squid is, don't be scared to move the jigs, don't be scared to work them. Now, you can leave it in the holder and the boat will work the jigs for you, and all you'll see is sometimes the rod will just go over and it will go tight, and that's all you've got to do then is bring it in. Nice slow retrieve, don't be lifting it up and down. As soon as you drop that rod tip, you are unhooking the jigs from the tentacles. A bit like turbot, you have to keep that steady reel on all the way to the surface, and then just lift them in. It's the easiest way. If you faff about with a net, you spend more time letting the line go slack. Just whip them in. But don't be scared to work your lures. Let it hit the bottom, leave it for a little minute, and just give it a little flick. We've literally had it where we've had the lures down for a couple of minutes, just holding there waiting for a take, and then the slight movement, it prompts that predatory instinct in a squid, and that's it, boom, that's when it hits it. Little short, sharp movements, experiment with it, do big lifts, do small lifts, but nice and slow. Don't yank it, because if something is on there or looking at it, it might not, it won't work. Nice slow lifts, let the squid attach it, get them in. Well, that's been another Fish Fridays on the squid today. Thanks for watching. Please do like and subscribe, and we'll have another Fish Fridays out next week. See you again soon.